Welcome to the Keep the Faith podcast. I am your host, Tori, and back with me today, I have Dr. Sonyetta Cooper. Last week, let me tell you something. Last week was simply amazing that I had to bring her back for part two. And of course, last week the topic was heart posture because the month of February is Heart Month, and we were talking about that. So today we're going to dig a little deeper. But before we do that, I want to mention two amazing women that transitioned this week. And first, we're going to talk about Hadia. And let me find the picture. I just had it up. Okay. I'm going to show a couple pictures of Hadia. Let's see. This is one. And this is the other one. And of course, you guys know that Hadia traveled the world. She was a national HIV and AIDS activist, and she was diagnosed at the tender age of 5. And Sonyetta, tell us, we were talking before we went live. Tell us your experience with Hadia, because you said you had an opportunity to meet her.
Yes, and the thing is, everybody may not know who she is.
Yeah.
Hydea Broadbent, if you want to just look her up and find out about her story. I worked in the field of HIV and AIDS back in 1999, early 2000s, and that's when it was in the height um, of being people being diagnosed and people finding out about loved ones having having HIV or having AIDS. And so I worked at a clinic here in Florence, and the name of the program was called Hope for the PD. And at one point, I did a lot of traveling with that organization, and I was able to go to Nashville, Tennessee. I drove to Nashville, Tennessee with a van full of teenagers and my children who were preteens to the Ryan White National HIV Conference back then. That was in the early 2000s. And I was able to meet Ryan White's mother and a lot of other activists and different people that were working in the field of just promoting education and making people more aware of what HIV looked like. And it didn't have a face. It could have been anyone. And Hydea was born with HIV, but she didn't find out until she was 5 years old. They found out that she was HIV positive when she was 5. And I met her. She was a little girl at the time. And she was born and adopted in 1987 because when she was born, her mother didn't even keep her. So she was like pretty much given away. She was adopted. And so when I met her, she was probably around maybe 8 or 9. She was a ray of sunshine. She was beautiful. My children got a chance to meet her. And I was younger then. So I really didn't understand the power in what I was experiencing at that time. So I experienced so much. I met so many people from different countries. I traveled to different conferences, national and international conferences, met so many different people and did so much work in this field. And she was just a bright and shining star. So her whole life was geared around educating people about HIV and AIDS, educating people and teaching people. And to say that she lived for 39 years, back then they were saying that people couldn't live past 10 years. Mm-hmm. So that just goes to show how life progresses, how medicine progresses, how science progresses. And they had clinical trials and different things during that time. And so she lived to be 39 years old. And she was just a miracle child. And she was someone that if you ever came into her presence, you would never meet her. But if you look her up and read her story, you'll be able to understand and you'll start seeing more about her because she touched a lot of lives.
Yes, she did. And I'm going to put her picture back up again. And I want you guys, those that don't know of her, please look her up. Hydea, so you got to pronounce her last name.
Broadbent.
Okay, Hydea Broadbent.
Like cable, Broadbent.
Okay, and this is the other picture I had. You did so well with talking about Hydea. That was amazing. So now is my turn to talk about my personal sister that was And I'm trying to do as good as you, Sonyetta. But if I fall apart, you guys forgive me. But this is my sister. Um, oh, I'm getting emotional. Tori, keep it together.
Come on.
This is my sister. My sister, she been in my life for almost 30 years. We met in college. She was a ray of sunshine. She was the life of the party. She always had your back. She loved everybody. Everybody. And she was battling cancer. And she didn't get her healing on this side, but ultimately she got her healing. And it'll be selfish of me to want to hold on to her when she obtained her healing on the other side. So I want to say to her family, her mom, and everybody that she touched, keep everybody in prayer because she was such a beautiful person inside and out. I want to say more, but I don't want to cry throughout the whole podcast. But she touched a lot of lives. And it's kind of, we all know that we're not going to be here forever. We know this. But sometimes it's so hard to let go. And back in, I want to say May of last year, when she was diagnosed, and she called me and told me that she was diagnosed with cancer. I said, I started crying. She said, Tori, stop all that crying. I don't need that crying. I don't need that crying. What I need is for you to pray. She said, I know you know how to pray. I know you know how to pray. So I need you to pray for me. She said, I don't need the tears. I just need for you to pray for me. And I said, yes, ma'am, I'll pray for you. And she said, Tori, she said, don't worry, I'm gonna be all right. She said, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna be all right. And so I'm gonna be honest and be transparent. When she told me, she said, Tori, I'm gonna beat this. We had them we was planning to do a girls trip at the end of this year, probably, around her birthday, because the birthday is in October. And we was gonna do a girls trip. And we was like, whenever you get, because she had like one, I think she was almost finished her treatment. And we was like, when you get your immune system back up, we're gonna do this girl trip. And everything has been good. So when I got the call Friday morning, I lost it. I was like, how can this be? We had so many plans, but we have to understand that God has other plans. And like I said, I want her legacy. Let me put her picture up one more time. I want her legacy to live on because this is a tough one. Keita, I love you. And I know you saying, Tori, if you don't stop that darn crying, but I can't help it. So with that being said, we're gonna move on so I don't be crying. But I also want to do this. And now that I'm thinking about this song choice. I hope if I get emotional, I'm gonna turn my camera off. But there's a song that came to mind when I started thinking about her when I went to church this morning. And there's this old school song that I started listening to. And I probably shouldn't have did this to myself. But if I get emotional, I'm gonna turn my camera off. But this is the song that I thought about when I was thinking about her and Hadia when I went to church this morning. This is an old school song. I'm an old school. I like that old school traditional gospel. So some of the youngins may not know about it, but this is an old song. Yet another song, but this is an old school song from the Mighty Clouds of Joy, and it's called "Walk Around Heaven." those out there listening, can you hear can you guys hear the song? Because Sonyetta cannot hear the song.
I can't hear you.
Get to heaven, I'll sing and shout. Nobody will be able to put me out. My mother will be waiting, and my father too. We'll walk around heaven all day.
Okay, that's all I'm gonna play. But Sonyetta, can you? What happened? Sonyetta, you muted. Can you guys hear me? Let me know. I don't know what happened with Sonyetta. Sonyetta cannot hear me. Can you guys hear me? Son, go out. Go out and come back in.
You're muted. I can't hear you.
They can hear me. What going on with you? Let me see something. Okay, she gonna come back. Could you guys hear the song as well? Because I don't want to play too much of it because Facebook will probably shut my live down because of copyright. And I should have said before I played it, do not own the rights to this music, but I didn't want to play too much because I would have got the live shut down. So let me see if let me wait for Sonyetta to come back. I don't know what happened, but you guys can hear me because I don't have the mic muted. But and while we wait for Sonyetta to come back, I want to let you guys know that if there's someone that wrong you, forgive them. If there's somebody that you wrong, make sure you ask for forgiveness. Don't walk around with grudges because life is so extremely short. Walk in love, love on everybody, and make sure, that those that you care about, make sure you let them know how much you love them. Those that are watching, everybody's watching, I love you all. I think everybody is special. I don't believe in holding grudges or anything like that. So make sure you walk in love and walk in forgiveness. All right, Sonyetta, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but they were able to hear me. And yes, TJ, it does. It does, TJ. And Deborah says, "We love you, fam. Love you too, Deborah." And I'm trying to see who all is in the comments. Landon, what's up, TT, and Miss Carolyn. Okay, so I don't know what happened, Sonya, on your end because everybody else can hear me. So you missed the song and everything.
Everything.
Oh,
That was
oh
the
man.
pure T devil.
And I couldn't play too much of it because I didn't want Facebook to shut me down because of copyright infringement. And
Right.
Miss Carolyn, I love you too. And like I said, you guys, if February is Heart Month, and I just want to make sure I show love to those amazing women that has transitioned. I had to do that, and I had to get that out of the way so I get the tears. Now we got business at hand. I want this week right here. I want Sonyetta to tell her full testimony of what she went through. And that's why it's called heart posture. And you guys know, like we did last week, it could go to, we could go on other, the conversation may shift, but I want her to first tell her full testimony because last week she was tired. She had a long day. So, I ain't want to keep her long, but I want her to tell her testimony this week of, your experience with your heart condition.
Okay. Well, first of all, once again, Tori, thank you for inviting me into your
So,
space. Um, I don't take it lightly that you have brought me back for a second time, so you must have liked me the first time. But we've done this before, and I don't mind sharing my story because my story is not for me. It's literally to help someone else to kind of, if
mhm.
if they experience something similar, if
Mhm.
they have any kind of ideas or any thoughts that something may be wrong, that
Mhm.
to just kind of maybe not do what I do, but do something different. So in May of 2023, last year, May 23rd, I had one of the most exciting days of my life. I closed on my house. That was on a Tuesday. That Monday before, I had an incident with one of my grandchildren that was kind of stressful. It wasn't kind of stressful, it was very stressful. And so there was a lot that happened, a lot that was went around it. So by the time Tuesday got here, my realtor and my loan officer were both in Columbia. So I had to drive to Columbia that next morning. And I really wasn't feeling good. I have been dealing with breathing issues for over a year, almost about 2 years. And I've been going to the doctor because I was pretty much healthy to the point of that I wasn't on any medicines. My doctor's appointments were only like once a year, where I was going to get my yearly checkups, not unless, I caught a cold or I had a sinus infection or something. But other than that, I didn't have to go to the doctor regularly because I was, in pretty much good health. But these breathing issues seemed like they came out of nowhere. And I just remember when one day I got out of my van and I was going in the doctor's office, and it was hard for me to breathe. And so I really didn't, make a lot of it. I told my doctor about it, and she was like, I'd had an upper respiratory infection before. So she was like, I'm going to go ahead and get you a prescription for your inhaler. And so she got me a prescription for my inhaler. Then days went on, and I would be like, hey, my breathing is getting off, it's getting worse. And so I came in again, and she kind of diagnosed me and said it was asthma. I'd never been diagnosed with asthma before. And so I received a rescue inhaler at that time. And then she also gave me a prescription for steroids. So this was around the end of 2022. And my family was planning to go on a cruise in February of 2023. It was the Valentine's Day versus Super Bowl cruise. And so we had a whole group of people going on this cruise. And I remember sending my doctor a message saying, hey, we've got to do something about this breathing, because I can't be in Jamaica and can't breathe. And so again, she had prescribed me steroids to open up my lungs, and so it worked for a little while, but it wasn't making me feel better. So we went on the cruise. I didn't do a lot on the cruise because I was very tired. It was a lot carrying my luggage. We were on a 7-day cruise, so I had suitcases. It was who traveled with us was my sister, one of our girlfriends, myself, and her husband. So of course he's a valiant man and trying to help us, but he couldn't carry everybody's bags. It was like every man for himself. And I would have to stop, and we had to run through the airport, and I was trying to keep up. So I think back to all of the things that I was doing, not realizing that my heart was in such bad condition. And so we went on the cruise, and when we were on the ship, there were certain things I didn't do because I didn't feel good. I was tired. My breathing was off. We would do things, take pictures, go out to eat, but I would go back to the room and I would lay down. Well, all of this was during the beginning of the year. So by the time May got here, and I had been dealing and battling, and even went to urgent care at one point, and they said that I had bronchitis. And so I'm thinking, I've never been diagnosed with these things. So when my breathing started acting up, I was like, oh, maybe it's a bronchitis flare up. I'll get some medicine. So, we try to self-medicate ourselves. We get medicines. We get this. We drink tea. We do hot toddies. We do whatever we think we can do to get rid of something. When I went to Columbia to close on my house, I was there, wasn't feeling good. I had to run around. I had to go to the bank. It was like last minute things I was asked to do on the day of. So I was literally dragging, and I, dragged myself into the closing, did the closing. And then this was Tuesday. I made it back home Wednesday, but by the grace of God, Thursday, I started feeling worse. By Thursday, I couldn't lay down flat in my bed. I had to have pillows behind me because every time I tried to lay down in my bed, I would lose my breath. Friday came, I felt the same way. Now I'm in my old house. I couldn't even celebrate closing on my house because now I'm sick in the old house, and couldn't move, couldn't get up and, finish packing, doing everything I need to do. I'm just like, okay, God, whatever's happening, we got to get a handle on it. By that Sunday, because I laid for 3 days, Friday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it got worse every day. I couldn't even go to my kitchen without having shortness of breath, even getting up, going to the restroom, shortness of breath. Sunday morning, I remember that Saturday night saying, I can't lay here another night feeling like this. None of this that I have beside my bed is helping me. Nothing that they've told me, this inhaler, this medicine, nothing is helping me. I'm going to the emergency room, and my son will come by and check on me. And he was like, Ma, you okay? He had a key to the house, and he would come in and he was like, I brought you something to eat. I have food in my kitchen that I hadn't even been eating because I couldn't move around. Nobody knew how sick I was. I was in there by myself, just me and the Lord. But that Sunday morning when he came by to visit me, and he said, I said, I'm going to go to the hospital. He said, you want me to drive you? I said, no, I can drive. I'll drive, because I had gotten so used to pacing myself, getting in my car, sitting down, sitting there for a while to catch my breath, cranking up the car, driving at the light, breathing, catching my breath. And then by the time I got to McLeod, I parked in the garage. And when I got into the emergency, the young lady that was sitting at the desk, she was just looking at me. She said, are you okay? And all I could do was shake my head. I couldn't even talk because I had to walk from the parking garage. I did get down on the bottom floor. It was a close park considering it was in the garage. And I remember walking in and holding my chest. She was like, are you having chest pains? And the thing about it, when people say chest pains, it wasn't like a pain like somebody was punching in my chest. It was like pressure. Like there was something pressing down on my chest. And so I was, I said yes, because I know if you go to McLeod and you say you got chest pains, you're not going to have to wait in the waiting room. And all I was thinking was, I don't want to be in this waiting room. Somebody need to see me because I need to get back home. This is what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. Find out what's going on with me. Give me some steroid shots. Give me some antibiotics. But I'm coming back home. I got my van parked here. By the time they realized that I was about to faint, there was a wheelchair that came behind me. And I just remember the lights in the ceiling as they were taking me to the back. And when I woke up, the doctor asked me, she said, do you know that you have an enlarged heart? And I was like, no, I've never heard that I have an enlarged heart. She said, we did a chest x-ray and you have an enlarged heart, but you also have pneumonia and you have fluid in your lungs. And then she said, do you have an issue with fluid in your body? Do you have issue with swelling? And I was like, no. Now, if I put up a picture, it might have been this morning or earlier today, where it showed, 2023 versus January 2024. And you could see how swollen my face, my head is on this picture on my page. And I didn't even realize it. So when she asked me about being swollen, I'm like, no. And she said, well, your legs look swollen. And I said, no, I just got fat ankles. My family got fat ankles.
Really?
Because that's what we're taught. When you got milk legs, you just got fat ankles. So in my mind, this is what I always said, because this is what I've always been. But when she touched my legs, it hurt. So I was like, ow. She said, you feel that? I said, yes. No, I've never felt that. So she said, well, will you stay for a few days for us to rule everything out? And I said, I don't have anywhere to go. I'm going to stay right here. Me, Tori, I'm always up for a laugh. I'm always a clown. At that moment, I still didn't realize what was going on. The next morning, they said, you have congestive heart failure. And your EF, which is your ejection fraction, which is the amount of pumping that your heart is doing, how your blood and your oxygen is going to your heart, was at less than 15%. My heart was less than 15%. That was the condition that I was in when I got to the hospital. Had I not gotten up that Sunday morning and driven to the hospital because I decided I'm just going to lay here and keep taking this medicine, or, I'm just going to pray my way through. No, something's not right. And what they're telling me is not working. I need to get better is all I was thinking. But that was the last thing that I would have thought they would have told me, Tori. So I went and they did all these tests and they immediately started pumping IV fluids in my body. They put me on this medicine that's called Lasix, which gets the fluid out of your body. And if I could just be transparent, every 10 minutes I thought that I was a toddler. Matter of fact, every 10 seconds, because I was up running to the bathroom. And I'm telling you, all
Yeah.
that fluid that came out of my body, I could not believe how much fluid was on my body just from taking those medicines. And so I stayed there for 5 days, and I left with what they call a defibrillator life vest that I had to wear 24 hours a day, because they told me originally you're going to you're probably going to have surgery, because I want to know, what do I need to do to get better? Like, how long am I going to have to deal with this? Like, I got prescribed like 10 different medicines when I was on no medicines. I'm like, well, what is all this? What do I have to do? Because I need to get back to me. And the doctor said, you can't stress. You keep your blood pressure down. Change your diet when you leave here. You take salt out of your diet. Eat healthy. Drink certain amounts of water, because I couldn't drink a lot of water because my body retained fluids. And just do exactly what it is that we're telling you to do. And you're going to have to go to cardiac rehab, which was at McLeod Hospital for 12 weeks. And I was going to cardiac rehab, and I also joined the NASDAQ entrepreneur program. And I did 12 weeks of cardiac rehab and the NASDAQ program at the same time. And I graduated both at the same time, because I needed something to keep my mind regulated. Because during those 12 weeks, I couldn't move, Tori. I couldn't move out of that old house. I couldn't pack. I had friends, gold friends, that made sure that I ate. My son would come by. Both of my daughters live somewhere else. My grandkids are not here with me. So my son would come by and make sure I ate. But I had gold friends that were literally going through similar situations. I can give a shout out to Janice Green, my sister from another mister. And I always love her no matter what, because she was going through some of the similar situations. She had heart problems and blood clots and all types of things at the same time that I was going through. And she was calling around our gold friends saying, you take her breakfast, you take her lunch, you take her dinner, you make sure she's got whatever. I'm like, sis, you sick yourself, but that's okay. I'm gonna make sure you're okay. And oftentimes when you go through things, some people that you expect or anticipate to be there, and there were a lot of other people that stood in the gap, family members, friends, different people, some of my church members. I had people that were making sure I was okay, even if it was a prayer. My church did a whole lot of praying. I stayed in contact with my pastor, my church, the different people who literally were intentional, because that's the difference. People will say, let me know if you need anything. But then there's a difference when people are intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, I was working and running a business and doing all this stuff, but everything had to stop.
Mm.
And I have a new house. And you telling me don't stress?
Mm.
You telling me keep my blood pressure down? So when people started calling me with stuff they normally call me about, I'm sorry, I can't take this call because I can't stress. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it because I got to keep my blood pressure down. That'll be a no for me. I'm not going to be. So I had to change everything, mind, body, and spirit, because my goal was I wanted to live.
Mm. 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 That's a powerful testimony. Let me go through some of the top comments. Hey, Michelle. Michelle says, hey, sis, love you.
Hey,
And
my
then
sister.
and then Michelle also the what do you call that? The work, the print, the is that the worshiping hands? Are you doing like this?
Praying and worshiping.
And Michelle says, say that. And then, of course, we're continuing the conversation with the heart posture. Oh my God. That's why I wanted you to tell your full testimony about how important it is to be in the right posture, our heart to be in the right posture. And I know you got a continuation of listen, you said so much last week. I mean, you was dropping nugget after nugget after nugget last week. I'm trying to tell you. So what other nuggets do you have for us today as far as the heart posture concerned? Because you made a very valid point. Those you pay attention when you really need somebody, when you down and out, you see who shows up. And some of the ones you expect to show up, they don't show up all the time.
Yeah, see, the thing with that is it's not even about what we expect. It's what
Mm,
people are able to do.
mm,
So sometimes we're expecting things from people that they can't give.
mm.
And we get so caught up with the potential in people. You've got the potential to be there for me. You got the potential to be the man that I want in my life. Or men might say, she's got the potential to be the woman that I want. And we're looking at specific things. But when it comes down to the wire of what literally the need is, they don't have the capacity to fulfill that need.
Mm.
So we get too caught up in thinking that people are supposed to do things, but there's oftentimes that God won't allow people to do things for you.
Ooh.
And we've got to accept that.
Mm.
I don't even hold that against you. You couldn't do anything for me because God wouldn't even let you. Because we've also got to remember that there are people who genuinely want to do and they can't do. Then there are those who just really, I didn't know because I wasn't telling all my business. I wasn't out there. Listen, I didn't have the little thing in my nose, laying in the hospital doing a live video, trying to let everybody know I'm on death's doorstep. I will post reels here and there, but my show up remained the same. I continued to
Mm.
post. I continued to show up because even in my time of despair, there were people that were expecting for me to put something on the computer to motivate them to help. And guess what? When I'm going through and when I'm dealing with stuff, I get better when I'm able to help other people. So I might not have been able to do it with my hands, but I was still able to do it with the what God has put on the inside of me. And sometimes that's just a word. And I wasn't just encouraging the people, I was encouraging myself because there was a moment of depression that set
Mhm.
in.
Mhm.
Let's be real. There are some things that most of us go through when we're going through and we don't ever talk about it. And that's where people get stuck when they're going through situations. They're like, oh God, nobody can be going through this. I just can't make it through. But you've got to let people know the beginning, the middle, and the end. People trying to figure out, how do I make it over?
Mm.
Give me some tools to help me make it through what I'm going through right now. But most people who feel as though they've arrived, they don't want to talk about what it took to get there. So people will see, oh, you lost weight, oh, you this, oh, you did that. Girl, tell me what you're doing. Almost had a heart attack and died.
Mm.
You won't, because a lot of times we look at people and we think, oh, I want to do what you're doing. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because I wasn't eating, really unhealthy, but I wasn't exercising. Guess what cardiac rehab made me do? Get myself up 3 days a week and go to McLeod Fitness and do my exercises. Why? Because I wanted to live. When I had to cook my food with no salt, and people like, what it tastes like? It tastes like results.
Mm.
What do you want? What are you willing to do to get what you want? But do you know what you want? And oftentimes, the most important thing has to be, I want to live. So, what are the things that are keeping you from truly living the life that God has carved out for you? Because sometimes we take a wrong turn. Sometimes we get off track and off focus. But whatever God's will is going to be done. Now, whatever He has to do to throw a monkey wrench in our program and make us have to take a scenic route to purpose,
Mm.
we're still going to get there. And so instead of thinking bad about people who didn't do or weren't able to do, just thank God that He never left.
Mm.
I was never alone. See, I never really had a problem with being alone. And I definitely never had a problem with being lonely because I like being by myself.
Mm.
When you're so used to the crowd and when you
Mhm.
want the applause and
Yes.
you have that craving for the need of people, what about having that craving and that need for a
Mm.
relationship with God?
Mm. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes,
When you
yes.
get to that place, then all bets are off. It's okay. Don't feel bad. It wasn't your turn and it wasn't your time.
Mm.
And another thing that people need to understand, watch who you expect to be there, because there are people out there that want to bless you to bind you.
Ooh, say that again.
There are a lot of people who will bless you to bind you.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Basically, do for you so that you owe me.
Mm.
There's a difference between agape There's different types of love. I love you, but what kind of love you got going on? If it's
Mm,
not agape, I don't want it, because agape is unconditional.
Jesus, that was good to me. Oh, oh, that was good to me. Got to. Let me go. Listen, I'm getting real country. I said, got to. Let me go through a couple more comments. Michelle says, "My Lord." And Voodoo Child gonna come in here and make you laugh. This is what Voodoo said. I need you to change your posture so I can see that jacket behind you.
Voodoo, you gotta get the address. I got a couple of fits for some men up in here. Got some Gucci right here.
And Michelle says, sometimes the people who can and will don't, while the people who know you can't. Oh, wait a minute. Sometimes the people who can and will don't know, while the people who know can't it and won't. And then Michelle also says, wounded healer. Oh, yeah, that's good right
Hmm.
there. And then Voodoo Child, of course, he got back in the spirit, says, Amen. after he trying to
Change my posture so he can see that jacket.
and Michelle says, that's who we are called to be. Even through our hurts, we help others heal. Speak your truth, sis. It's almost 1 a.m., but loving this. Oh, she was
Michelle
saying it's
is
1 a.m.
she's in Germany. So my sister, listen,
Oh,
she's one that will show up no matter what. That is
what?
my sister for real. She is in Germany. She is an Air Force Reserve chaplain, and she is serving our country and up at 1 a.m. watching us. So love you so
Thank
much,
you,
big sis.
Michelle. That's what's up. And Voodoo Child says, Amen again. Michelle says, past 1 a.m. love and not die. Live and not die. I think that's what she meant. And then Brenda Cooper says the best thing we can do for each other is keep each other in prayer. We are all a work in progress. Yes, indeed. And Michelle says, along with him. Absolutely. Let me tell you something. That's the best feeling in the world when you alone with him. And here's the thing: when you said you were comfortable with being by yourself, I was thinking to myself just maybe this morning or yesterday. But you know how sometimes I know that I desire would love to have a husband, but you know how I feel like I'm so comfortable by myself. I don't even know if I'll be able to have somebody in my space. I don't even know if I want somebody in my space. So me and the Lord got to talk, because I mean I desire a husband, but I'm so comfortable being by myself. I'm so comfortable taking myself out. I'm so comfortable just, you know what I'm saying? Like the house is quiet now, my son is not here. I enjoy my quiet time.
Listen, that's a whole nother podcast that we got. We're gonna have it early in the day, so Michelle won't be up at 1 o'clock because she can jump in on this conversation and we can have a powwow. But
Oh
the
my
fact of the
goodness.
matter is, be careful of your words, because
Mm.
this is where I am now.
Mhm.
I was saying a whole lot of that.
Ooh.
I don't know, child. I ain't ready. I know the man ready, but I ain't ready, because he gonna have to be. Listen,
Oh goodness.
when we are where we're
Mm.
supposed to be doing what we're supposed to do, and if we
Mhm.
desire a mate,
Mhm.
everything that we think is wrong and need to be fixed, he's already got that covered. Everything that we think, because remember, our ways are not like his ways and our thoughts are not like his thoughts, but also there's life and death in the power of our tongue. So whatever it is we're speaking out of our mouth, the more we say, I don't know if I'm ready, he probably backing up a little bit further. He
Mm.
might be on the other side of the street, but because our mouths are speaking against it, which are saying that we don't want our blessing, not saying that he's going to be the whole, but what do I desire? I know I'm a wife. So first of all, you have to be a wife before you're found, because he that
Right.
finds a wife finds a good thing.
Mhm.
Now he that finds a boo thing, he that finds a good girlfriend, he that found a good cook, a good twerker. The Bible don't say none of that.
A
So
good
first,
side chick.
so first of all, you have to be a wife and know that
Yeah.
you're a wife, if
Mhm.
that's what you desire. Everybody
Mhm.
does not desire to be married. I know
Mhm.
that I'm a wife. I know that I deserve and desire to be covered, because all this right here needs a good covering. That's why counterfeits can't even approach me.
Mm,
So at this time of my life, in my season of singleness, I'm enjoying spending more time with God, getting to know me, because there was a lot about me that I had to get figured out. Because being in relationships, being in long-term relationships, every time a person ends a relationship and end up with somebody else, you bring in that residue with you. There's no healing that ever took place. So if we take the time with God to heal properly, we open ourselves up to what God has for us. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know what it looks like. But what I do know is he wants to fulfill the desires of my heart, because I love him just that much.
mm. Amen. Amen. And listen, this will Michelle. Michelle, this was good. This is a comment when you said they will bless you to bind you. Show enough. That Sonyetta, that was so good to me. They will bless you. Oh my goodness, that was good. I got to make sure I write that down. And Carolyn says, "Amen to that. Bless you to bind." See, that was powerful. Michelle says, "Love is what love does." Absolutely. Hey, Jamesa. Jamesa says, "Hello. What's up, Jamesa?"
Yes.
And Voodoo Child said, people never look like what they are going through.
Amen.
Absolutely. Some of the people that are going through the most, you will never know it. Like I had a friend of mine that was going through something and she was always smiling. And I never knew when she sat down, took the time and told me every I'm like, you going through that? But she never once complained. So you never know what people are going through. And Michelle is showing love. And Jamesa says, thank you for your service. Talking to Michelle. What's up, T? Tanya, much love, ladies. And hey, Michelle. Yeah, what's up, Tanya? Make sure you subscribe, Miss Tanya TV on YouTube. Make sure you
That's
subscribe,
right.
subscribe. And Michelle says, girl, I'm trying to catch up with the comments. There's so many. Michelle says, when you are satisfied with God alone, he will send him. I know. And I'm glad you said that, Michelle, because I have a friend of mine now that, like, you know how when you're not looking, when you are obeying, you're walking in obedience and you're not looking, he shows up. So continue to walk in obedience, especially those that desire to be. But like Sonya said, you got to be a wife before you're found. So don't. And this is the other thing. I want women to not get caught up into. Some women get caught up that you desire a husband, but you desire it so much that you make wanting a husband an idol. And you can't do that. Because I remember there was a time in my life where this was probably a couple years ago, and I was just living life and just, and if somebody ran into me and said, oh, Tori, you look so good. Who is he? I'm like, what you talking about? Why does me looking good and having a glow has to be something to have to do with a man? Has nothing to do with a man. I'm just being happy and walking in obedience, being obedient to what God is telling me to do. But you automatically say, well, who is it? What's his name? Girl, bye. It ain't nobody. I'm just being obedient and walking in my purpose. Voodoo Child says, I want both of y'all to get a husband today. Today, Voodoo.
He already
Tanya,
know. He want us to get up so he can be the DJ at the reception.
yeah. Listen, you already know he the DJ gonna be lit. And Tanya says, listen, words are power. Absolutely. Definitely they're powerful. And Michelle says, that's right. God sent my husband when I became satisfied with him and him alone. Yes. Yes. And Miss Monique says, yes. And Voodoo Child says, Sonyetta for mayor. And Michelle says, know your worth. And Miss Carolyn says, and be specific what you ask God for. Tell him
Mhm.
exactly what and who you deserve. Oh,
That's
yes.
good.
That's real good. Be very specific. Don't just say, I want a husband. You got to be specific.
That's
It's
right.
hard. Listen, I got to take my time because that's specific. That hard for me. Most of it is specific. You see, I was trying to take my
Say it right. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
But yes, Miss Carolyn, be specific. Tynico says, Amen. Says, hey,
And
Tynico.
Nico.
And cousin Deborah says, Amen. Jamesa says, Amen, Sonyetta. And then Michelle says, Yes. And Michelle says, don't settle either. And
That's
then
right.
Miss Monique says, powerful words of wisdom. And Miss Monique says, also, I now apologize to others for my expectations of them.
Mm-hmm.
I never understood it then, but I do now. God is so gracious how he covers you while you're going through. Thank you for sharing these. That was really good
Mm-hmm.
because I had trouble with expectations as well. But like you said, you girl, you said that. You said that. I can't even repeat what you said, and I don't want to misquote you, but you said that we place. I am guilty of that, placing expectation on people, and when you do that, you always find yourself being disappointed and hurt in
Mm-hmm.
the long run when you do that. Stephanie says, "Hey girls, hey Stephanie,
Hey,
yeah, I'm started
Steph.
to like I'm started to the party, but hey, I'm tuned in now." Stephanie, you can always go and watch the replay. And probably more than likely, I'll re-air it this evening for those that missed it. And Miss Tanya says, you just got to keep the faith. See what I did there? Yeah.
Yeah, we see you, Tanya. We see you, girl.
Yeah, you got to keep the faith. Absolutely. And Stephanie says, I expected me from others, but now Stephanie,
That's good
Stephanie,
there,
when
Stephanie.
I tell you, you really stepping on my toes. That was my
Mm-hmm.
problem. I expected me. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I expected me. And they're not me. I was like, why?
Mm-mm.
I'm like, why they doing this? I would never do them that way. Tori, they don't have the qualities that you have. They're not you. God didn't build them the same way. Everybody is different. And like you
Right.
said, Sonya, that everybody does not have the capacity to do what you need them to
Mm-mm.
do. Lord have mercy, that was good because I that was my problem. That was my biggest issue. Expect, and I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I still slip up here and there. I do. Expect me from other people. And Stephanie with the worship hands, and Miss Carolyn says, "Oh wait a minute." Michelle said, "This is so good. Y'all blessed me tonight. Thank you, Michelle, for tuning in late. Thank you so much. Make sure you get some
Right.
rest now."
Right.
And Carolyn says, I'm so grateful I tuned in today. I just got home from church, and Lord, this is the cherry on top of my spiritual Sunday. Yes, sir.
Amen.
I'm trying to tell you. Listen, I told that last week was so good. I was like, Sonyetta, we got to do a part two because you drop so much wisdom. But whenever Sonyetta comes on, she always drops wisdom. That's all I listen. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna tell you now, Sonyetta. I always expect the best from and excellence from you.
Mm.
And Stephanie says, "Hey, cousin Michelle," and the other thing that I was gonna ask you, when you navigated after you got the because you remember initially you said when it came you were misdiagnosed initially once you got the diagnosis and you knew that you had to make some changes in moving forward. How did you still are you still finding it easy to say no? Are you still able to not stress at all? How does that look like, remaining not to be stressed? And because I'm trying to get tips myself because I find over the past couple of days I'm letting a couple things that shouldn't stress me. But what are some of your tips for allowing things not to stress you, especially things that are beyond your control?
Well, number one, practice makes perfect. So, because I had to practice not stressing, you have to have a goal. And my goal was to live. What
Mm-hmm.
did I have to do to live? I had to do the necessary things. I had to make sure that whatever was happening around me, that I didn't let it bother me. Think about it, Tori. I went from a job that I was working all the way up till I went into the hospital, making six figures a year, just closed on my house, still living in the old house, still had work and different things to do on the new house. And then while I was sick, that contract ended. So as a consultant, I work off of contracts. When the new contracts came out in June, I couldn't be picked up on a new contract. So now I don't have a job
Mm-hmm.
with a new house and still have an old house and bills and everything else and 11 grandchildren and life.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what I did? Lord, whatever your will is, let your will be done. It's easy to talk about faith until you've got to exercise your faith.
Mm.
Your podcast is called Keep the Faith.
Mm-hmm.
But see, a lot of people out here trying to fake it till they make it. But I mastered the art of how to faith it until you make it. So I do literally walk by faith and not by sight. I know what it looks like, but I can't do nothing about it. To God be the glory. God fix it. We get to choose how our day is going to go. We get to choose what direction our life is going in. God has the master plan, but he's so gentle, he gives us choices. So if you find yourself stressing, go look at yourself in the mirror and talk yourself out of it. Because that's nobody making you do anything. That's you.
Mm.
And when you start doing some internal work and get real internal healing and deal with that blame, the shame, the guilt, and regret, and you do the inner work and get the inner healing, I'm not going to say life gets easier, but you get to a point that it is what it is. So because I had to practice this is what it is for at least 6 months and continuing on, because even after I graduated from cardiac rehab, I still couldn't work. There were so many different things that was happening in my life. I still had to figure things out, but I put it in God's hand. And there are a lot of people that talk about faith, but walk it how you talk it. And I'm
Mm.
walking it out. I am a walking, breathing, living testimony, and the story is still being written. God ain't even finished. But when you're going through, you're supposed to be growing through at the same time. And oftentimes we go to a situation, we get in the thick of it, and then God will send a miracle or something to happen that'll change that situation. And we didn't learn anything and we jumped to something else. And
Yep.
we didn't master anything.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from that last situation? And even the part about being offended, the spirit of offense doesn't even come from the other person. The spirit of offense is your problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you're walking around offended by something somebody has said or done or something that's going on in your life, it's not even about the other person. It's something that happened in your past. Now, what can you do about your past? Either you can deal with it or you can forget it. But if it's something that keeps coming up, those feelings, those emotions keep coming back every time somebody says something that reminds you of something. If you ride by a place that reminds you of a person and you just get up, those are soul ties. And there's so many things that we as men and women of God deal with that we never really did. Because see, you can't heal until you deal.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go back and deal with that stuff, it doesn't have to be something you plaster across the internet. It could be some private. When I tell you I've had some private inner healing during these weeks and months, the people who used to be a part of having access to me, a lot of them don't anymore. And I'm going to tell you a secret. Most of them don't even know it.
Wow.
The thing about it is when you have access to certain people or access to certain places and you lose that access, your key card don't work anymore.
Mm.
And there are privileges that come with membership. So in order for you to have membership in certain places and certain spaces, you've got to do the work. You've got to pay the price. So I
Mm-hmm.
paid the price for me to have peace. That means I'm
Mm-hmm.
not letting anybody come between me and my peace. I paid the price to have good health. So nobody is going to come between me and that. It's up to me what I'm going to have. I'm going to have to do the work. I believe in God. I know that God gives me the strength, but I still got to do the work. Faith without works is dead. And people
Mm-hmm.
love to say, oh, you talking about, you believing in yourself and you got to, you self-care and self-love. You better love yourself. You better take care of yourself. Because God even wants us to take care of ourselves and love ourselves. But we get so caught up in the religious side. So I'm not a religious person. I just believe that God loved me enough to give me so many more chances that I didn't deserve. And I asked myself, what are you going to do with the rest of the time that God's given you? And I just believe that the rest of my days are going to be the best of my days, because I finally got it. I'll be 55 this year. I promise you, I won't do another dumb thing that I did the 54 years that I've been on this earth,
Mm-hmm.
because I've gone through enough to know that it's up to me to do the inner work so that it can show on the outside. And that's still not about me. Because how are others who don't know God are going to get to know him unless oftentimes we're the only Bible that they get to see?
Mm.
I'm who I am. I don't care if you meet me tomorrow, if you met me 10 years ago, and I might have been a little cuckoo if you met me 10 years ago, but I'm the first to admit it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the stories that you heard. If you want to know the truth, come talk to me, because I bet you the story is a lot better when I tell you my version of it.
I know that's
And,
right.
and I'm gonna tell you the truth so you can be free. Because if you look at me and you knew me back in the day, you can literally say, "Now you know God is real." Because that one, I'm like Eminem. I don't need nobody to tell my story. I can tell my own story.
I know that's right. Let me go through some of the comments before I get lost. There's so many comments coming in. Oh Lord, let me catch up. Tanya says, I want whoever wants to be married to find that mate, but I think we need to allow happily single to exist at the same time.
That's right, Tanya. Everybody, listen. The Bible even talks about everybody's not going to be married.
Right.
That's not for everybody.
Yes, it's not. It's not. Michelle says, I walk by faith and not by sight. And Michelle says, yes. And Tanya says, you can't fake the faith. You sure
That's
can't.
right.
You cannot fake the faith. I promise you can't. Carolyn says, I'm having that put on a shirt. Faith it until you make it.
That's right, Miss Carolyn.
And Michelle says, leave it behind me. Jamesa says, no negative in my now listen, that's another word I struggle with,
Sedative.
Jamesa. Okay.
Sedative.
Okay. I'm the most important person on the planet, and anything that I can't control, don't stress on it. Peace of mind. Absolutely. And Stephanie says, okay. Miss Monique says, that's Campbell's soup. Good right there. Exercise your faith, blinded to nonsense. Absolutely. And Stephanie says, transparency is key. Love it. Oh my God. I think I got everybody now. If I miss your comment, I do apologize. Take it in love. But Sonya, this was good to me. I promise you. Like I said, we got to possibly do a series, because there's a couple things that you said that I want to elaborate on. Like, I want to get into some topics as far as you mentioned soul ties, because there are people that don't believe. I had some conversations with people there are some people that they don't even believe, they don't even think soul ties exist, and I'm looking
Well,
at you like, what?
bless their heart. Let me tell you something. I'm not arguing with nobody in this season about life. It's up to you to figure it out. But what I know for certain, that's like people who have multiple partners and don't believe in STDs. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about sexually transmitted demons.
Mm-hmm.
They don't believe that everybody they lay down with, they're getting up with something. And we can think about it in the natural, or we can think about it in the spiritual. Either way, you lay down with multiple people, or whoever you're going to get up with something. That's why we have to be very careful who we share our me with. You've got to value you enough that you know that you're important. Like Tanya said, if choosing singleness is the best route for you, then guess what? Who can question that? Who can question it? Because we don't ever know. We might choose it, but God may have another plan. But you walk the path that God has for you. And oftentimes, especially in these social media streets, people get so caught up in other people's stuff. They don't even know the people. You don't know anything about them, but you spend so much time worrying about what they're doing. And see, when you become a bandwagon saint, you jump on what everybody else is jumping on, but you're not even taking care of yourself. Handle your own business. We learned that in kindergarten. Pull your own red wagon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Lord, Stephanie says, woo child. And Miss Carolyn says, I enjoyed this, but I gotta go. God bless you all. Thank you, Miss Carolyn, for tuning in. And Michelle says, that's real talk. And then Stephanie says, woo child again. Stephanie, that's real. And Miss Monique says, that part, bless them. Listen, we got me and Sonya got to do a series because there are so many things that we need to touch on. And of course, March is going to be Women's History Month. So what I want to do, I want to spotlight some women next month. So we gonna see how that goes. But I definitely got to have you back in the month of March, and I'll reach out to some other people. But you guys, I ain't want to keep y'all all night, but we did reach an hour tonight, and I don't want to take up you guys Sunday. But Sonyetta, what are some of your and Stephanie says, yes, a series will be awesome. See. Stephanie, you'll tune in, right? And make sure you share. And those of you that missed the beginning, make sure you go back and watch the replay. But what I'll do, since there's some people that probably missed and chat, listen, like Chastity, hello, ladies. So Chastity, you just joining. So I'm actually going to re-air it on my Keep the Faith podcast page on Facebook and YouTube. I'll re-air the podcast again at 9 o'clock for those that missed it. I will re-air it, and of course, you can also go back and watch the replay as well. And Stephanie says, "And we'll tune in." But Sonyetta, what is some of your Chastity, make sure she said yes, ma'am. She just, so Chastity, make sure you tune in. I'm gonna re-air the podcast at 9 o'clock this evening. So make sure you go to the Keep the Faith podcast page on Facebook or YouTube, and I'll re-air it since you missed it. And Alicia says, please, yes, Alicia, make sure you go back and watch it. I'll re-air it at
Hey,
9 o'clock.
Lisa.
And Sonyetta, what are some of your final thoughts that you want to end with today?
Well, since we've been talking about, inner healing and what it is that we can do so that we can maneuver these spaces that we're in right now, I'm going to go back to get the work, get the necessary inner healing, whatever that looks like for you. In our community, we close a blinded eye to mental health. And I know Brenda Cooper was on here. I don't know if she's still on here. She works for PD Mental Health. And people really don't realize you can get assistance with mental health, and it doesn't have to look like a disability. Mental health could be depression. And people will, I've never dealt with depression. I beg to differ. If it had not been for the insurance that I had during this time while I was sick, which was through the marketplace, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, they offer so many different things with some of these with some of the coverage that we have. And one of them was it's an app that I have on my phone for Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I had a counselor that I was talking to. I'll never forget, her name is Miss Barbara. Miss Barbara would set up an appointment with me. She would talk to me. And some days I would be in tears because I was going through a process that I was not familiar with. I was dealing with health issues. I was dealing with trying to find out how I can pay for medicines that was $600. I was dealing with trying to find resources because now I have a house that I have to move out of and a house that I have to move into. I was needing so many different things. And I was the person that was the resource center for everybody. Everybody called me for everything. But here I was in need, and there was no one that could fulfill those needs. So I see that as me being a catalyst, because if I ever go through anything and I can't figure it out, and once I figure it out, guess what I get to do? Teach somebody else. Finding solutions, because there's someone else who's going through it. And then I found out about how many people had heart issues while I was going through my situation. So I don't wear it as a badge of honor. I let people know that I've always been an advocate all my life. This is just another opportunity for God to use me. Absolutely. This is not bragging rights. This is for me to be able to say whatever is happening with you, open your mouth. Rashonda Pratt says visibility is power. And I like to say it's all in your show up. We don't know who's going to log on. We don't know who's going to look at the replay, but it could be someone that could be going with something that we talked about. But because we set aside the time to come on here and talk and be transparent and be free, someone will be able to get some information and say, wow, if they could talk about it, so can I. So when you get the inner healing and you do the inner work, guess what? You get to help someone else. So my journey is freedom. And while I'm on this road to freedom, and that's freedom in all areas of my life, while I'm on this road to freedom, I'm close to it, but I get to take others with me.
Mhm.
Now, my motto, if you don't want to be free, don't follow me. Because in the spirit of Harriet Tubman, you will not get me caught, and you will not get me caught back to where I came from.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. 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 I love that. You would not get me caught.
It is Black History Month. Bring a
Amen.
little Black history in there.
Absolutely. That was good to me. Let me read a couple of comments. And Miss Monique says, I don't be on Facebook, but keep the faith. Have me checking now. Thank you, Miss Monique. And Miss Brenda says, come on
That's
down.
right. Come on down to my PD mental health. Go and go see somebody and talk to somebody. Get some help.
And then Chastity says, Amen. And then Miss Brenda says, exactly. Now, Miss Brenda said, listen, since Sis Sonyetta says you with PD Mental Health, I may need to reach out to you and have you on the podcast if you don't mind talking. Now you is it are you listen, Sonyetta, she is talkative of you as you. Because you know
Yes,
some people
she is. Listen, that's my we are sisters. We got the same last name, although we don't look nothing alike. That is my sister. And Tori, she has a story.
okay.
She has a
Okay.
daughter that passed away with heart
Okay.
issues,
Oh,
and she was very young in her 20s. So Brenda is
wow.
an advocate. She's a doula, help women, pregnant women who have their
Mhm.
babies, and she works at PD Mental Health. She's a mom and a grandma, and has we've been together since my Hope Health days. So yeah,
Wow. Definitely. I definitely got to link up with you, Miss Brenda.
yes,
Definitely got to reach out to you because, like I said, I want to have some amazing, phenomenal women on in the month of March. And like I said, I got to see how my schedule is going to go because, you know, we got the, you know, arrangements for my sister. So I don't know how that's going to go right now. So I'm going to plan the schedule around that. But I definitely, even if we got to run over into April, if I don't, if I have to miss a Sunday to kind of, get my mind right. If we run into it, it'll be okay. It'll
it
be
sure
okay.
will.
But I definitely got to make sure I spotlight some phenomenal women. So, Miss Brenda, I will definitely, definitely be reaching out to you. And Sonya, as always, thank you so much for always being the vessel and allowing God to use you. You always do that so eloquently and so effortlessly. So, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Now, if anybody wants to reach out to you, whether to come and speak, they may have you at the event. What are your social media handles so they can get in contact with you? And do you also check like if somebody inbox you on Messenger? Because I know, well, I'll say I can't say speak for everybody. I know me personally, when people be inbox, that's where I met. I don't check Messenger, so everybody doesn't do that. Everybody's not like me. So let people know your social media handles and how they can get in contact with you.
So my social media handles are the same across the board on TikTok, um, Instagram, Facebook. It's my first and my last name, Sonyetta Cooper. You can find me. You can reach out to me. I do check my inbox, and also my link for my link tree is on both pages, my Instagram as well as my Facebook. And there's a link on there that if you are interested in having me to come to speak, you can fill out a job form on there to send me the information. And so there are several speaking engagements that are coming up soon. So I'm looking forward to continuing to share my story wherever it is, whether it's on my little thing bending over. These little suits heavy. Tell Voodoo to come get his suits. Uh, his Gucci suits. You want to do the
He,
read with it.
listen, he talk him up. He said you was in the
Yeah.
way. So
Got over here leaning over to the side. Yeah. So if they want to contact me, tell them to just reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to talk with them and speak and whatever it is. And I also work with youth. I go and I speak at the alternative school. I work with the young ladies there at the alternative school because teenagers are definitely a part of the ministry that God has given me, because they are one of the most misunderstood population. So I love talking to the heart, especially at risk youth.
Absolutely. And Michelle says, "Love you, ladies. Love you, Michelle."
Blessings to you, sis.
And then Miss Brenda says, "Thank you for the invitation. I'll definitely be reaching out to her. Definitely. I would love to have her on. But thank you guys for watching. And like I said, I'll re-air the show this evening at 9 p.m. and it'll be on my Keep the Faith podcast with Tori on Facebook. And it's Keep the Faith with Tori also on YouTube. I'll re-air it tonight at 9 p.m. for those that missed it. But as always, Sister Sonyetta, it is always a pleasure to have you on. And like I said, of course, you already know that you're gonna be on the spotlight next month. Okay. So just be
Bless the
prepared.
Lord. Bless the
Have
Lord.
your next sermon ready. And Tanya
Listen,
says, you sold Sonyetta.
do I say, oh no, girl. And that's the jazzy boutique stuff. No, girl, you don't want me to sell nothing. It look like a garden gartrell. Y'all, y'all remember the garden gartrell shirt that Denise sold for the Theo?
No. And listen, Jesse laughing. And listen, I took someone in I made a little cute little short set in home making in middle school. Child, I can't even remember how to sew no more. I should have kept up with it. Could have been a side hustle.
Girl. And I have a sewing machine because I saw one and I wanted one. So maybe one day when I get older and don't have nothing else to do, I might, because I learned in home economics, but that's
Yeah.
another story. Don't ask me. I can put a button on now if I need to put a button on.
But you can't sew.
I'm not gonna say I can't.
Okay, just
Okay.
not right now. Just say you haven't perfected it yet.
That's right. That's right. That's another gift.
And Miss
Look,
Monique says, "Come on, PD Mental Health. You
that's
ladies
right.
have a beautiful week. Thank you. You too, Miss Monique." And
Tori, you
Alicia
said
says, "The Cosby Show."
that's right. When the invitations come, Tori, I like to say, where's my microphone and where's my lip gloss? Let's go. I stay ready.
I know that's right. I know that's right. That's what's up. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like I said, Sonyetta, is always a pleasure to have you on the show. But thank you guys once again for spending your Sunday evening with us. Enjoy the remainder of your evening. And as I always say at the end of each podcast, whatever you're going through in this thing called life, you may bend, but don't you dare break. Always remember to keep the faith. And we'll talk to you soon. Peace out, y'all.